Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tempestade Talk. We've gotten to see the Seattle Storm in action for the first time under Sonia Raman. Now it is the preseason. That being said, I still think there's some exciting things. Now listen, this podcast, Tempestade Talk, may not have a new intro yet, but your Seattle Storm sure do have a new look and a new feel. So bear with us as we get our new intro together, but you are watching Tempestade Talk, keeping a local eye on the Seattle Storm.
You have three people who are selfless like that, three people who are dangerously disciplined like that, and you have a coach that also embodies all of those characteristics. You can expect good basketball.
I love interacting with the fans. I'm excited for them to cheer for us because it's hell when you come here. I even welcome people that could be skeptical because it's new.
There's going to be a standard of excellence and discipline in everything that we do.
The Pacific Northwest, this area, how passionate they are. It's culture everywhere, but it's great culture here. That's what I want to be a part of, to compete for a championship. That's everybody's goal. And I think it's just how we go about things and habits that we create. I want to be around winners that'll help us get closer to that.
And that's what the fans can expect. And we're going to have some fun.
All right, Seattle Storm fans. We have another episode, and Roberta will be joining us soon. But again, this is your local eye on the Seattle Storm. My name is Erica El Ayala. I am the founder of Black Rosie Media and one of your co-hosts here at Tempestade Talk. Tempestade is the Portuguese word for storm, and so that's why we have this show here for you today. But I am joined, as always, by Roberta Rodriguez, and she is the literal local eyes on the Seattle Storm. But we got to see the Storm in action in two preseason games. Let's talk about your main takeaways, especially from last night at Climate Pledge Arena.
Yeah, so we are starting to see the vision that Coach Sonia Raman has been talking about. First of all, good evening, everyone. Ran through, had some technical issues, but we're here. So we see a Seattle Storm that is renewing. That's literally what we're seeing on the court. Everything is completely new. Everyone is, most of them are young and eager to learn, and that's what's happening. We see the fast pace. We see the connections that they go from court coast to coast. So there is a lot that we're seeing, and with preseason, we all we can do is measure potential, right?
Yeah.
And we have. I would say that for me, I have a much clearer idea of what is the potential of this team and what to
Mm,
expect from them.
yeah. Yeah, I think there are definitely some things, like you said, that are about the potential. And I think we're seeing the vision right away. And I think some of that is because there's such a departure in a lot of ways from what was last year. And you can sure look to the head coaching perhaps as one of those things. But as you mentioned, this is a primarily young roster, whereas for the last couple of seasons, the Seattle Storm
Hmm.
have tried to, really boost their chances to making a deep playoff run with veterans, which, as you know, I say all the time, I still think the WNBA is a league where you need veterans to win ultimately. Now we're in a 7-game series for the finals and 5 in the semis before that. So, you have to be able to endure a lot, and veterans, of course, especially those with championship pedigree,
Hmm.
happen to be able to do that at an accelerated pace. But that doesn't mean anything if, again, the coaches and or the front office at times are perhaps not aligned or are not executing the
Yep.
system that is conducive to the players. I don't think
Hmm.
that's the case with Sonia Raman, and I think a part of that is because there is a different sense of freedom, knowing that, as
Yes.
you said, this is a team that's kind of re-upping, right? They are not looking to win a championship necessarily at the end of the year, because
Hmm.
that is the ultimate goal, but it's not the first goal in what is a longer runway.
Yeah, and we did ask Sonia Raman that during media day. She said that her goal for the team this year, she didn't want to. She said it's not the ceiling. She doesn't like to put a ceiling, but if the team is playing cohesively, if the team is playing effectively, then they are doing what they set themselves for. And we are starting to see that. This past, I know we're gonna get to talk about the games in general. We saw ups, we saw downs. There is
Yeah.
some inconsistency, but we do see a team that is starting to understand how each other works.
Yeah, so like you said, we're going to talk about the games. And if you look in the most basic terms, one was a loss, one was a win, one was home, one was away. I mean, there are things that you can deduce from each. But let's start with some of the continuity. And so I want to kind of bounce around and pick and choose which parts of the games we're going to talk about. But the thing that stood out to me is that we're maybe starting to see, at least in the beginning of the season, well, Retta, do you think we're starting to see who the starters are going to be for this squad?
I think we can have a pretty good idea of who the starters are going to be. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, we do have to take into account the injuries and also the fact that our farm is not here.
Yeah.
But from what we saw so far, my guess, and is this the time for the guess yet? Can
Go
I
for
run
it.
with my starting
Go
five?
for it.
My
Yes.
guess is that it's going to be Flau'jae Johnson, Dominic Malonga,
Mm-hmm.
Natisha Heidman,
Mm-hmm.
um, Steph Dolson,
Mm-hmm.
and either Lexi Brown or Zaya Cook.
That's what it's kind of shaping up to be. As a matter of fact, I believe it was Lexi started both games.
Yeah, she started both games. It
Um,
was she did bring a lot of energy to the team.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's an interesting situation because, we've talked about in our Slack channel, there seemed like there was very little faith in Lexi Brown. Um, and, that was, I think, assumed by some to be because she's been open with some health, concerns and challenges that she's going through. So, but she made it very clear, you and I were both there at exit interviews, like she's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It is not something that was an issue. So and I think you're pretty much seeing that. Now it's still it's even knowing Lexi's game, I think there is historically, right, a really sharp eye for being using quickness, especially on the defensive
Yeah.
side. And
Mm-hmm.
she can also use that quickness and speed. She's a player I kind of like to call slippery. She has a lot of movement, which I think again fits into the Sonia Raman system as we're hearing it. I think she is kind of a slippery player. I think
Yeah.
that her confidence and her ability to knock down critical shots is something that has grown over her career. It's not
Mm-hmm.
exactly where I would like to necessarily
Yeah.
see it for the role that she might potentially play for this team. But it's definitely, we know, a part of her game that is maybe most affected by the start and stop nature
Mm-hmm.
of her game, or of her career, I should say, for the past couple of seasons. She just hasn't had many reps in game action.
No, she hasn't. She hasn't had many reps. What we see is that she did have she did have significant minutes this past games, and when you look at to last year, she had only 9.5 minutes per game, so there wasn't a lot of room for her in that rotation, especially when you consider that they had Skylar Diggins running point. Um, but what we're seeing today is her quickness being used by
Yeah.
Sonia Raman,
Yep.
because that's what she wants. That's what Sonia Raman is aiming for. So when we get Lexi Brown, and you look
Mm-hmm.
at those who are pairing with her in the backcourt. Let's look at Jade Melvin. They are both players who rely on quickness.
Yeah.
They're both players who are very fast with the pick and rolls, the pick and pops. We saw time and time again these past two games long passes. They would grab the
Mm-hmm.
ball on one end,
Yeah.
another player would be already on the other side, and they
Mm-hmm.
would pass the ball. They were struggling with the finish, but again, they're going to get there. That's not where they, of course, they want to win, they want to make baskets, but they are working on that cohesiveness. So I haven't seen a lot of that in Storm basketball the past years, and I've already seen that happen at least twice or three times each one of these two games.
Well, we see you, Manuel. Thank you for hopping in for a little bit. Hopefully, we were able to say hi to you before you have to head out. But yeah, thanks as always for popping in. We know you always like talking about your
Yeah.
Sparks. But you're right. It's a good time to be a WNBA fan with a new CBA in effect and historic deals for these ladies that really have paid off handsomely. Yeah, well, hey, we can agree on that for sure. And thank you everyone who's popping in. Striatic saying that he watched the game. I loved this comment. Now, for those who don't know, Striatic is definitely a huge hockey fan and has followed our work at Black Rosie Media on the hockey side of things, and even when I was doing some Kraken coverage. But I learned that even if you are inconsistent at everything else at times, if you are consistent at rebounding, you can still be in control of the game. I love this because, yes,
Yeah.
that is exactly it. And there have
Mm-hmm.
been times where we are seeing or we saw, I should say, a dang near perfect or as perfect as could be version of the Seattle Storm. And there were
Mm-hmm.
two things that they would not do with any consistency. That was rebound, which comes to, my favorite word or phrase, maybe, to yell, boxing out.
Oh yeah, you were a big boxing out fan.
Just please box out. Please box out. Or I'll just pull my hair out. And the second thing, oh gosh, especially early, poor Ezzy and company could not make free throws.
No, and this was an issue. Oh my God, this like this game. So we are all very energized by the outcome, right? We're very
Yes.
energized by the Storm pulling a big win. It was a preseason win, but it was an important win for energy. There were, lots of ups and downs. The Storm was trailing. I mean, the Fire was trailing by 13 at some point, and then
Yeah.
they put on a big run, took the lead. The Storm went on and picked up again. Um, it wasn't a pretty game. Like neither this last game, neither of the games looked good. I think that it's okay that they
Yeah.
didn't look good,
Yeah.
and there were stretches where neither of the teams were scoring, and all of the
Mm.
points came from free throws, and they were not, and there were lots of free throws missed, lots and lots of them.
Ugh.
There was a stretch. I think I have my notes here. I think in the second quarter that neither of the teams scored for like almost 2 3 minutes, and
Jeez.
there were five turnovers during that period, during that stretch, three of them from the Storm. So we are seeing some of the downside of that speed with a team
Yeah.
that's just now starting to gel,
Yeah.
because those turnovers came from Jade Melvin, which is natural that it's going to come from a point guard, right? So we
Yeah.
did see that happening. And again, it was at the end, it was a good outcome. There was a lot of energy with how Flau'jae Johnson and Zaya Cook were hyping up the crowd. But, but if the Storm plays like this against the New York Liberty,
Oof.
against
The
the
Aces.
Las Vegas Aces,
Oof.
against the Indiana Fever,
Yeah.
against the Atlanta Dream,
Ooh,
that's
yeah.
not going to be this outcome. And I think
Yeah.
that as a
Even
team,
Chicago, maybe, at least on paper.
Chicago, yeah. Uh, I think that as a team, they understand that. Fans might not understand this part because it was um, the Storm didn't play. They didn't play well for a long time during those games. That's the when you look at with the hard cold eyes, they did not play well for the biggest part of both games, and they were not effective for long stretches of those games. And yeah, you see Striak, oof, this is ugly basketball. And I'm gonna say I was sitting in the media row, and I keep because I jot down things during the whole game. I keep following, and you see at some point you see here it's all FT, free throw, free throw, free throw. Like you barely have field goals, So it was not pretty basketball, which is not what the Storm is aiming for. The Storm is not aiming for pretty basketball. The Storm is
Chaos
aiming for
basketball.
chaos. and and honestly, it maybe that's what they need. They need should they maybe they're
Just
going
get
to
it
be a
out.
team that's going to thrive in chaos. Chaos. It was very important though,
Craig saying
Jade.
Jade has only one speed, offense and
Yeah,
defense, and that she
that's
has.
true.
You love her aggressiveness, but she needs to learn patience and control.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that I like to see, there was
I
a
once
very,
learned what this means. Orange cat.
what does this mean?
I'm not a cat person. I'm actually allergic
Oh
to
yeah, yeah,
cats.
because yeah,
So I was like, what is orange cat? I don't know what that means, but now I know.
orange cats are crazy.
It was
Yeah,
it was orange
so
cat
yeah.
energy for sure.
Yeah, we did see. I think that they're doing a pretty good job with using Steph Dawson for the pick
Yep.
and rolls.
Yep.
I saw that a couple times, and it worked really well. The Jade and Steph connection is beautiful to see. They do
Mhm.
play very well with each other. We did see some very fast passing, which also worked really well. There was this play that it imprinted in my brain. I think it was Lexi Brown pass to Flau'jae. Flau'jae saw, I think, Renaya Daves on the left wing and just passed to her immediately, and Renaya Daves sank the three. So we are seeing the vision come to life.
Right.
It's just going to be a process. I think
Yeah.
that on the court, there was there's a lot that needs to be worked. There's a lot that needs figured out in terms of the energy and the off the court. They are doing a really good job, but
Yeah.
I think that fans do need to be ready for a struggle season.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder for sure. I just wanted to go back to something I think James posted earlier, and also Striatic talking about some players that we think did and maybe didn't have a good showing. But as far as the starting lineup, I know it's very tempting to say that Awafam will start, and likely will eventually, but not here right now. So we're not going to see that until she arrives. But then again, we won't see this lineup likely for a little while because um Ezzy Magbagor is also was ruled
Mm-hmm.
out for 6 to 8 weeks starting, and so we're in like week 1.5, I think, of that
Yeah,
announcement.
yeah. It's gonna be a while.
Yeah, so we'll be missing out on that. But I want to talk about a player who I think and has spoken, right, in between, I think, or right before the first preseason game. We heard Zaya Cook. I'm gonna get my headphones after this. But we heard Zaya Cook say that Coach Raman is trusting her to play fully in the backcourt, whether that's at the one or the two, and there's that trust there. There's a responsibility that she's been given, Huerta.
Hmm. And we do see that Zaya Cook has been she has taken the lead on scoring for the team alongside Flau'jae Johnson, and we do see her very comfortable with the ball. It has been working really well. She opens up for the team. That's a position that the Seattle Storm had been struggling for the past seasons, ever since Jewel Lloyd left. And even when Jewel Lloyd was there, she wasn't being very effective, and Zaya Cook is probably going to fill that void that was left on the shooting guard position. We have repeated that over and over again, and and we're finally seeing the shooting guard position being filled in an effective way. We were not last season. We did talk about how maybe Zaya Cook was not the best option and the most reliable option because it was a different system. I think that that's what it comes down to. Different players, different system. I think that when you have Skylar Diggins and Akogumake on your team, you do play different, and the pieces are put on the floor in a different way. So I do think that for last year's system, there wasn't a lot of room for Zaya Cook. There
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of room for Lexi Brown. And one thing that we have been discussing is the communication, because Lexi Brown does have a protected contract. So when that happened, what was the communication between the coaching staff and the front office? Because it seems like from the contract, one thing was expected, and when it came to the tactical side of it, Lexi Brown was not delivering and being used according to what was expected of her, because it's like we were talking last week about Ezzy making the highest salary on the team. You would expect that she would be the one producing the most. You would expect that she would be the one being used the most. Now, why would Lexi Brown have a protected, well-paying salary for the previous CBA if she was not being used? So what it looks like, what it sounds like, is lack of communication, because with the new coach, she is being used. So we do see that it tracks, and we have seen the issues that the coaching staff had. We saw the issues that the coaching staff had to deal with the team. I think that these past seasons there was so much miscommunication. There was so much, you know, I think the lack of identity part of it, when NECA voiced halfway through the season that the team did not have an identity, for me, that's when it settled that something was wrong that didn't really have to do only with the on the court aspect of things. Because a team that has Skylar Diggins and Ekagumake, you don't expect it to go bad. And when it came to the second half of the Seattle Storm season last year, they didn't do well. And that's not what you expect with the roster that you had. And it's such an abrupt change from last season to this one. When you see how the bench is being used, I think someone asked last season, someone asked Coach Sonia uh, about, she has been playing deep, deep into the bench, and they asked if that's something that she continued to she intended to continue doing throughout the
Right.
season. I don't remember her answer exactly, but she did say that she wanted to be able to see everyone, to measure her options. We are almost everyone played. Yeah, everyone who could play yesterday played.
Right.
That's what is that's something that is cool. And even the players who were waived today, Ella Dean, Jalen Brown, and Beatrice Montpremier. They were the ones who played the list, but I think that that's because the coach already knew that they were going to go. So
Mm-hmm.
it is completely different. Now, I think, and I might be going, might be a sidetrack thing, but when you think of it, Noelle Queen inherited a team from Dan Hughes, right? And Dan Hughes chose her. I mean, she was, of course, the
Yeah,
organization
Noah
has to.
Quinn, yeah.
Yeah. So Dan Hughes chose Noelle Queen, and she inherited a team that was Dan Hughes and Sue Bird's team, and there was Stewie. We saw the whole debacle with Jewel Lloyd. My opinion, and that's a hill I'm gonna die on. Noelle Queen was never given a proper chance,
Mm.
and she paid the price for it. That's my evaluation of all of that, and I think that when they brought in Sonia Raman, it became they chose her, and it seems like it was communicated and is streamlined really well, the intentions for the season, the
Mm.
intentions for the players. That's what I see as the main difference from the past season to this one.
I mean, I think that Sonia Raman is doing a wonderful job, right, to start off. And Tammy, hey Tammy, how you doing? Good to see you. Agrees. I mean, there's, I think it was a good choice for a young team. Tammy says, and I really agree with that and resonate that. To begin with, it looks like she's going to play her players,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that was always so mind-boggling to me. It happened with Nika Mule. It happened with Dominique Malunga last season.
Hmm.
Um, so we still have a little bit of an echo. Hold on. There were unfortunately a lot of examples and evidence that there was something in the organization, whether it was a coaching choice, whether it was a front office choice that a coach had to execute, or it was just wires crossed. And even with Ezzy McBagor, I've said it before on the program. The reason I've had reservations about Ezzy is not because she can't do it. We saw, like, we covered her in the Olympics for Australia, where she goes off for 30 some odd points and wins them a bronze medal. So it's not that she cannot do it, and she, until what I'm hoping will be this season, she was never set up to do that, to your point. And if we're seeing with a hurt Ezzy Magbagor, at least for a little while, that this coaching staff is going to, like you just reported, give the players an opportunity to show what they can do. I want to see Ezzy do what she can do at the highest level that she can do it in the WNBA. And we've gotten close, and especially defensively, to seeing that version of Ezzy, but she hasn't broken through quite yet.
No, she hasn't. She hasn't had her breakout season, breakthrough season. She hasn't had that season yet, and I think it has a lot to do with the Seattle Storm rosters in the past seasons. The last two seasons, she was playing with Nekogumake in the paint, and there was also, and then last year there was the addition of Dominique Malonga. The year before, Nekogumake, and then before that there was Stewie, who was the main player on the team. So uh, as he has never been the main player on the team. She has never been the focal point of the team's offense, and I think that's what was missing for her development, because that's one thing that we haven't seen an effective growth. It's also because of the way that she had been used. I think that this year, if the team decides to play our from the bench, if they want to start her in the bench to to get things going, I see as the potentially having the breakout season. But again, they might run into the same problem as the previous years, because you have three players who can do the same thing. You have Ezzy, Awa, and the three-letter trio, the three-letter paint trio of the Seattle Storm. I think that a potential solution could be to move Ezzy a little more outside and play more like a three, because, and I'm saying that, I say that not because that's what I think she would be better at, but that's where I think she would have a better at having a bigger role on the team. That's where my head's at, because the way the end of the season went, the way the preseason is going, it seems like Dominic Malonga uh, is going to carry the heavier load of points for the team, and even be that focal point of the offense. So for Ezzy, perhaps, and I don't know if that's of her interest. I don't know if that's of the team's interest. I don't even know if it makes sense. But for her to have a higher usage and for her to stand out, it might be a case of her playing a different position. I don't know if that's possible, but considering the stacked front court, this could be a way for her to stand out.
That's so interesting because I hear what you're saying. And I think this is where, like, the concept that we're also hearing in Seattle could be very intriguing. This idea of positionless. And similarly to what we're hearing, I'm in New York right now. What we're hearing from New York is that, oh, this idea of positionless basketball might have been taken out of context. And I just assume that that means they listen to our podcasts, because anyone who hears me speak knows I cannot stand positionless anything. I don't like it. I am a tourist. We like to stay in our comfort zone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 makes sense to me, but especially 1 and 5. So I'm just assuming both of these teams, because they both said it, they obviously listen to Black Rosie Media and our podcast, as do all of you. So thank you so much. See what I did there? Nice transition. Thank you for listening to Black Rosie Media. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and do that. This is our Seattle Storm podcast, Tempestade Talk, which of course is the Portuguese word tempestade, that is for storm. So this is Storm Talk, effectively. And then we also have Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. If you saw that clip about Jonathan Kolb, then you've seen our work. Brian and I on the scene.
I do want to take the opportunity for a New York Liberty and Gotta Get Up plug. So Gotta Get Up has been using the Gotta Get Up song. And I don't know if y'all saw the Liberty's new promo marketing campaign for the season. They went back and they are using the Gotta Get Up intro, because the Black Rose Media podcast took it from the Liberty earlier days, and now the Liberty is running it back. It's just so y'all can have an idea of like how solid the experience and the knowledge has been for Erica and Brian. When I heard that, when I first off, that music video was incredible.
It was
Seeing
good.
Maddie and Ellie together was so cool. Maddie's just so cute. Seeing Queen Bee, Benaja Lane in that old school uniform, all of the photos, like Stewie, Marie Johannes, that uniform is so like I want one. I want one of those jerseys because it's so
Bad.
beautiful.
They're gonna wear them
Yeah.
on the 8th, which is my birthday.
Ooh, May 8th?
Yeah,
Nice.
let's
So
go.
it's
I'm
it
gonna. I
yeah,
have
but
to get
anyway,
one. Like I have to get one.
I just wanted to
Thank
get it
you.
because it's so cool that, Gotta Get Up has the name was based off that song, and the New York Liberty is running that song back, which
That's
is
it.
just really cool.
Oh
Just needed
man.
to say that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that because I did share it in our Slack channel, but like the whole premise of that show was well before, and we actually started the show pre-COVID, well before any of the stuff that I'm doing now as a national reporter. But it was just me wanting to reconnect with something that meant so much to my family growing up. Some people who know my hockey stuff, my family, like, they're not really into sports, definitely not as much as I am. But one thing that we always did as a family was watch the Winter Olympics. And I've told that story about how I got into ice hockey before. But another thing is go to New York Liberty games. And, I didn't grow up with both of my parents in the same household. So we would go with our dad and he would enjoy it and like would sing the song. I'd go with both of my sisters, again, neither one really into sports, and they would sing the song. I'd go with my mom, and it was just something that we could always do. So that song and that, like, there's just a lot to it. And yeah, I think it's great that the Liberty are running it back. We do have our new intro for the New York Liberty, so we overlay a little of that. And also a plug, again, we shared this in our Slack channel. A way to get access to our Slack channel is to subscribe to our Women's Basketball Roundup newsletter, free for now. We have some paid tiers coming soon. But we shared that Brian Florentin and I, who are the co-hosts of Gotta Get Up, we were actually asked to do a segment. I think it's going to be for the Liberty Unlocked, which is like their YouTube documentary series. So yeah. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's super cool. It's just something to bring fans together. And although I am a national reporter, hold on, let me just because I don't know, there's a weird echo. So as soon as I finish this, I'll let you come in. We're working on the echo, folks. Sorry about that. But I think it's just a way to bring fans together, and that's why we started the podcasts the way we did at Black Rosie Media. Because yes, we're going to report. We are journalists, and we like to have fun, just like fans. So anyway, thank you for bringing that up, Hoeta.
Yeah, and you mentioned you asked people if you saw Jonathan Kolb talking about the Natasha Cloud situation. It was Erica who asked the question, um, and you've also probably seen Flau'jae talking about Sue Bird. It was me who made the question. So Black Rosie Media has got the women's basketball conversation going. Okay. We know what people want to know. We know what people want to talk about. And we live and breathe women's basketball. Erica, even more sports than me. So it's like it's really about knowing the intrinsics of the knowing where the details, when you're in this game for such a long time, you pick up on things that other people won't pick up. So the Natasha Cloud situation, Natasha Cloud, I don't know if we're supposed to get in that, but it's just like very quick. Natasha Cloud is a winner. She has proven time and time again how good of a point guard and a leader she is. And the fact that she doesn't have a team is weird at the least. There is room for her in this league. There are teams that need her. Jonathan Kolb said that himself. that any team that has her will be lucky. So, and people have been talking about it, but no one asked publicly a GM. Jonathan Kolb did hire Natasha Cloud at some point, but he didn't hire her for this year. So Erica went and made the question. And when you have a source on the, I think we can call him a source on the record for this one, talking about a situation that is so close to him, because people were wondering, well, if you had Natasha Cloud, why didn't you sign her again? So asking those questions is important, and people want to know about it. And the with Flau'jae, it was such a cool photo of her like jumping and Sue Bird in the background, because that's Sue Bird's house, like Flau'jae said, and it was such a whirlwind of how she ended up in Seattle and who was and the energy that she's bringing. So, I mean, I wanted to know if she had seen the photo and what she thought about it. Did she know Sue Bird was there? Blah blah. So, yeah, Black Rosie Media, we ask the questions that people don't want to ask. And sometimes that gets us in trouble. I don't know. But yeah, we talk about the real deal here. That's what I was gonna say.
Sorry, I was muted because I was trying to find the photo. I thought I had it teed up, but technology. We'll get it up there later. But the point is, yes, very well taken, Hobet, and we're really proud of what we're building here, and that's why we do try to keep this local. I got the idea from another company I used to work with, and there are not a lot of people that do comprehensive coverage for a women's team specifically. I think soccer probably has the best landscape, and that's growing over time. There are a lot of WNBA shows or, women's sports shows, but to be able to speak as experts, to speak to fans, and also to do original reporting, as you mentioned, we've been doing all this preseason is really exciting. I am going to find that picture because it's a bomb photo. We actually used it for a thumbnail, I think, on the last episode, so I definitely have it somewhere. But I do want to get to thinking about this Seattle Storm team. There you go. Nice. Hold on, let me put you up there. Sick. But
It's very quick. The photographer was Jane G. She has been shooting for the Storm for a long time. She's amazing. Yeah, just wanted to give her a shout out.
yeah, 100%. We love giving credit where credit is due, and have no qualms about it. But I think Flau'jae is such an interesting character, and I've seen some of the comments like on our videos and our podcasts, our live streams, that people are like, oh well, she shouldn't take the Angel Reese approach, and that's almost as if trying to knock Angel Reese for being able to be intersectional. Listen, if everyone, for all of you who love Selena, the reason that you love Selena is because of the crossover appeal, okay? Especially those of you, and hey, listen, I can get down and order some food, but I don't speak Spanish fluently, unfortunately. So people like me who don't speak Spanish, if you know Selena, it's because of crossover appeal. And Flau'jae has that. It doesn't mean that Selena was any less talented. If anything, you had to be more talented to be able to be a superstar in English and Spanish. And that's what Flau'jae is doing. She speaks basketball fluently. Speaks basketball, and the Seattle Storm are seeing that on the court. I do think that's a little rough around the edges. I think she's getting used to the speed, I would say, of the WNBA. I think she kind of poo-pooed the speed a little bit, kind of downplayed that maybe that was something that she had to adjust to, but I do think she's adjusting to the speed just a scotch. I think she'll be fine, but that's a potential superstar in the making because of what she can do on the court and how she plays. We talked about Natasha Cloud a little bit on this episode, and again, check out the video. We talked about it on Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans, and I should have an article for CBS Sports coming out soon, but since y'all are here, I'll let you know. We I was able to source that, um, you know, a source told me that that a team did reach out to the New York Liberty, and that the New York Liberty at the time did give a glowing recommendation, effectively, of Tosh Cloud. So this narrative that, specifically, if anyone thinks the New York Liberty are doing anything nefarious or didn't want to hire Tosh Cloud because of anything off of the court, that's just not the case. Again, listen to the clip we have, watch our podcast, read my article. There are a lot of things to break down there. It's a very unfortunate situation, but 99 problems, as they say, and Tosh not being able to still get after it ain't one of them. Um, but the reason that I think it's interesting that we're seeing what we're seeing with Tosh is because Tosh plays with so much love, and she lives her life with so much love, and that's non-negotiable for her. I think Flau'jae, I don't know that it's going to express itself in advocacy necessarily, but there's something there. And we played the clip right on the last episode. She has something there. My sister and I were talking about the phrase "je ne sais quoi," which is French, of course, for it's just like See, now I talked about it earlier, and of course I forget, but it's effectively like I don't know what. Like it's something that's hard to place, but we in English use it as a good thing. It's like she's hard to place. It's like she's got something to her, right? That you can't quite explain, but you're drawn to it. That feels like a way of explaining and describing Flau'jae both on the court and off the court. I was so drawn to also her telling us in preseason, Joeta, that this system, and I think we posted this part of the clip, this system under Sonia Raman is going to meet her skill set a little bit more spot on. She's going to express, she thinks there's going to be more freedom for her in this system than what she had at LSU. And it's not like she was a slouch by any means at LSU. She had a pretty good career, including a championship, right? So to maybe even see her game grow and evolve because there's more freedom, that's going to be fun to watch. And then also she's fun because she's an entertainer at the highest level, on and off the court. I mean, it's just like, wow, this is special. And then you add that to Dominique Malunga, you add that to Awa Pham. We're calling it. This is Ezzy's year. We're claiming it right now. And Ezzy Magbagor, who just it, you know, just goes full sandpaper. That's going to be wild. That's going to be such an exciting team. And then you have a player like Zaya Cook, who has, I don't even want to call it a redemption arc, but this is also an opportunity. She's getting opportunity. There's trust that this coaching staff is putting and pouring into her. I mean, this is a team that might bust through brick walls if they can get on the same page and just refine a few things. I think this is going to be a really exciting Seattle team to watch. I don't know how many games they win, especially out the gate, but they're always going to be in it, and I think they're really going to put on a show.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm sorry, my tripod keeps falling. It's a team that has a lot of energy, and this is going to be important for this team because, as you said, we don't know how many games they're going to win. We don't know how, if they end up losing a lot. We don't know how those losses are going to be because, like we were saying, when we saw that second quarter slump in the last game, and we saw a third quarter problem against the Golden State Valkyries. They were able to come back from this last one, and they were able to stay a little bit afloat against the Valkyries, but that's not going to be the case with the contenders and even those who are in the middle. So keeping that energy is going to be very important. Why? Because this team is not setting their main goal is not to win the championship right now. Their goal is to lay the foundation. And in order to lay the foundation, you have to do a lot of work. You have to do a lot of hard, um, not a lot of not rewarding work. And right now, there's going to be a lot of labor. They are not going to see the return of the labor. You're not going to reap the fruits of the labor, reap the fruits of that labor right now. This is a team that's looking towards the future, and I'm gonna say it's the first time since Brianna Stewart's departure that I see this team having a sense of direction. Even if it means losing now, even if it means not making the playoffs, I see this team as having a future, which is what they have to look towards. And it has a lot to do with the past drafts. Of course, you have Dom and Awa and Flau'jae, but Ezzy also got to the Storm via draft. She was drafted by the Storm, and they have been shaping her, to perhaps be a franchise player. She just hasn't had a proper opportunity for it because there was always someone who would get a little bit more of the spotlight. And like we said, it when you have Neko Gumake, you're not gonna get the spotlight because Neka is a WNBA champion. And you're going to rely on the WNBA champion. And we see what Neka did for the Storm. So what we're seeing, and now even with Jade and Jordan Horston, you can have a starting five of Storm draftees. And this is something that's going to be very interesting to watch. And maybe that's something that they should have been doing for a long time. The thing is, was that communicated? And it all goes back. I'm a history buff. I believe that everything that happens today is a result of the actions of the past. And I think that the Storm's struggles up to last year had to do with the lack of planning for Brianna Stewart's departure. So that hindered the potential for growth for the team for those years and as his growth. So they have a lot to catch up as is going to do some extra work to uh, she it's not that she wasn't developed, it's that in order for her to play for her full potential, she's going to play what she didn't she's going to have the responsibility that she didn't have the past 2 seasons. And I think that's what they're going to give her. And I know that Ezzy can bear the weight of that responsibility because we see her doing that with an Australian team that has WNBA veterans. We see her do it with an Australian team against WNBA veterans in FIBA basketball. So she can do that, and I think that this is going to be her big opportunity for it. She has a lot of young players who can rely on her. And it, I think I said this saying in Portuguese here. There's a saying that we like to use for our soccer national team, because Brazil has always has young talents that come up, and people want to constrain those talents, and that's when players start to fade. So we have a saying that goes, "Deixa o menino jogar, let the kid play." It sounds boring in English, but it became a thing as in like, oh, let someone is like let the kid let him cook.
Let them
That's what
cook.
it means. Let him cook. That's basically what it means. So deixa o menino jogar. Deixa a menina jogar. It's That's what has to be done with this team, and there is so much energy for this. It is the time to let the kids play. And one thing that I like is that alongside the kids, they brought in Natisha Heidman. Natisha Heidman is a veteran, but she does have a let them cook style of play. You see that she has a freedom on the court. Um, the swag that she has off the court, she brings it to the court. People, someone mentioned on Twitter that they feel bad for the team that has Natisha Hindman as their main point guard. I don't think so. I think that Natisha Hindman is a solid veteran who can run the point as the main point guard for the Seattle Storm. And if it doesn't happen, y'all can call me out in the future. Anyways, I think that she might be that point guard, that veteran point guard that's going to find Ezzy in the where she needs to be found. When Nafisa Collier plays differently from Ezzy, that's for sure. But Natisha Hindman does know how to play with players who can play both in the paint and outside. So this team has an interesting mix. It has a lot of energy. I think that the off the court has played such a big role this past seasons in a negative way. I think that it is the first time in years that the off court is going to impact the on court on a positive way. And in my opinion, Flau'jae Johnson brings a lot of that. I know that we're not King Monkeys enthusiasts, you know, uh, Flau'jae Johnson did say that a lot of her energy and her hyping up comes from how, oh my God, the Rugrats crew, the Rugrats. See, in Portuguese, it was Rugrats. Um, yeah. So Flau'jae Johnson did say in the post-game presser that she took that from King Moki, that King Moki was always hyping up the players, and she was always telling the crowd, King Moki is a show woman. We we know that, that's for sure. So that LSU Angel Reese came from there, and Angel Reese is also a show woman. That's a team that knows how to rile up crowds. It's a team that knows how to support their teammates. And the Storm is going to need a lot of that. Storm fans might not remember what is it like to what the growing pains of building a team around draftees is like, but this year it's going to be like that. So I do see some very tough games against the Aces, against the Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx, the Toronto Tempo team. I'm gonna say the Toronto Tempo intrigues me. That team intrigues me. I don't know about you, but I'm on the Marina Mabry hype buzz. I'm riding a big Marina Mabry hype buzz. I think she's going to have an amazing season. Anyways, I've talked a lot, Erika, and I know I have to be muted when you're talking because of the echo.
All good, all good. No, I loved what you were talking about, and I think that you nailed it when it comes to the Seattle team. I like this comment from Tammy. I was posting a lot of them while you were talking, but Zaya is going to be this year's Erica Wheeler, solid energy and consistency from the bench. I like that. I like that a lot. I wanted to come back to this comment from Striatic because, again, I covered the Seattle Kraken for a long time. And what we used to say is that, at least in theory, it didn't always work out that way. But oops, wrong comment. But also, yes, this is from a series about LSU. LSU had too much talent that wanted the ball. So I did see that comment, but actually I was coming back to this one. The Seattle Storm are BC opportunity. BC stands for basketball club in this particular instance, and that's also actually, as it turns out, what Unrivaled uses. But we used to say that I used to say that the Seattle Kraken were HC, as in H for hockey, C for club, hockey club opportunity, in that there's a lot of young talent that could be something really great, but you have to give them reps. That has been the case for the Seattle Storm for a while. This year, though, they're ready to give them reps. They're ready to let them cook. I got to work on the phrase you said in Portuguese, but we are going to do more Portuguese, some lessons, as long as you don't have us all saying something crazy. But keep it PG, at least PG-13. No, jokes aside, I do think that, yes, this is BC opportunity. The Seattle Storm, again, we've talked about it, the vibes, the feel, and I'm imagining the direction. It just seems that if they're not on the same accord, at least more so in the than they were in the last two seasons, then they're faking it really well, because it's coming across as this is one band, one sound, that everyone is in alignment of what the goals are and how to execute. And yeah, big opportunity here, and that includes for Ramen, right? I think this is going to be a really intriguing team. I think yes, they can take some teams by surprise. And you talk about, and I put these comments up as we were going, but yeah, getting the 8th spot, maybe getting another high draft pick. I am not Team Tank. A lot of people know that about me. You got to play the games, and I think there will still be challenges, even though it's going to be an exciting brand of basketball. The consistency, the ability to finish. Sometimes when you are running that motor, it's like basically watching men's college basketball. Men's college basketball is very exciting. They're always running up and down the court. Men's college basketball, if you like fundamentals, will give you an anxiety attack. And that's maybe what will happen when you watch the Seattle Storm every once in a while. Blown bunnies, which is missed layups. The rebounding, as we've said before, at least early returns, there shouldn't be an issue. Exactly. Free throws. These are all things that they're fundamentals. They're the unsexy parts of the game. And sometimes when you have a young squad and you have a fast squad, they're the things that can get overlooked just because you're so hyped. You're so jacked up all the time. It makes for a fun game, but not always the most fundamentally sound.
Yeah, so and since you mentioned that, I do want to. So there were some, as we say in corporate, areas of improvement. There are things that succeed, the positives and areas for improvement. So there are two positives that I want to talk about. One is that we are seeing a Seattle Storm that is using their bigs for pick and rolls. Uh, the connection between point and big is there. We have seen that. We saw with Jade, Natisha, and Lexi Brown. Lexi Brown doing pick with Dom. That was cool to see. So that's going to be very important for this team, and I think that they're going to work more and more on that. The second thing that was a positive was the spacing. I think that they are spacing very well on the wings. You saw players who are deep in the bench, like Renaya Daves, shoot and score threes because the team was being able to find them. And with Flau'jae, with her, the way that she is able to create space and shoot, that's also going to be really good for the team. And Jordan Horston is really good at that. One of my favorite things about Jordan is how she can create a space for herself and shoot from the three, and the pull up jump from Flau'jae. I think that Flau'jae brings that again. So an art that was mastered by Sue Bird. Uh, so Flau'jae did mention that. She mentioned that that's something that Super does and that she wants to do too. So the way that they are spreading on the floor and the way that they are actually using their bigs for pick and roll is really going to work on their favor. And that might be one of the things that Sonia Raman was talking about, being cohesive and being effective. Another thing, when it comes to the speed, and that's going to lead into the areas of improvement, we are seeing a team that's not hesitating. They are not a hesitant team. And that does remind me, we talked about that a lot last season. The Storm was hesitating a lot. And I saw that very often with Erica Wheeler. She would get the ball, she would have the space, the room to shoot, and she would have a person to pass, and she hesitated. So, again, those are some of the things that make me believe about in the communication theory, because Erica Wheeler is not a hesitant player. She plays in a very fast pace. Anyway, so we're not seeing this hesitancy from the Seattle Storm. We're seeing speed. They get the rebound. There's someone on the other side already, and they are beating the defenders full speed. They just have to find the best space for them, but they are running fast. So the team is not hesitant, and this has a lot to do with being young, wild, free. So the team has that. Now that does lead to the areas of improvement. With that speed, with that pace, with that young, wild, and free comes turnovers. It comes with missed shots, and maybe uh, a little bit of hesitancy might be good, and that will not be hesitancy, would be just like take a deep breath and choose the best place for your shot. Because again, against the Valkyries, against the Fire in the preseason, you are going to get those offensive rebounds. Dominic Malonga had 11 rebounds, 6 of them offensive rebounds. But when you're playing against Asia Wilson, when you're playing against Alyssa Thomas, when you're playing against Brittany Griner, we're not talking about height only. We're not only talking about strength. We're talking about rebound masters. And Dominic Malonga has the potential to get there, but she is not at Asia Wilson's level, even though she challenges them, you know? So uh, they have to be mindful of where they take their shots, and be careful with the turnovers. And another thing, and Flau'jae struggled with that in the first half yesterday, was that fouls. Flau'jae Johnson got into foul trouble in the second quarter. I was talking about Jeff Brown actually pointed that, because I had to know she got into foul trouble, and that was when the Storm started to go into a slump. So that can happen. It reminds me of another player who, Camila Cardoso. She's also Brazilian, and I care about her a lot. But she does struggle with fouls. Last game, she had 6 fouls. Not this. I didn't watch the one yesterday, but the first Chicago Sky preseason game, Camila made her 6th foul in the third quarter, and that's not something that should be happening still. I do know that refs have a heavy they it does they do call her differently, but I think that Camila needs to be a little more careful, a little more careful with her defense, because Tyler Marsh has been saying that she's going to be the key player, so she can be making 6 fouls in 3 quarters. So, and the Storm again, someone mentioned about knowing the difference between speed, fast, and reckless. I think that might be one of the biggest challenges, and for me, it's growing pains. There's going to be a lot of growing pains, but what comes after the growing pains? The growth. So that's where the Storm's at.
Striatic asking if Flau'jae pushing the limit to feel the line is a good use of preseason. Yeah, it could be. I think the thing that maybe not me specifically, but that WNBA viewers, however they choose to identify, whether that is mostly, I'm thinking, from their professional affiliations. I think people who watch the WNBA would say, in theory, yes, and that would mean that there's actually consistency in how the games are called. So, I mean, I guess you could kind of try, you could figure out something, but that doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be when we get things going. So, I mean, that was a part of Nafisa Collier's statement, right? Also, is that she made a massive statement on the officials and the lack of what she felt was um consistency was also a blatant show of a lack of professionalism. Like she made that connection, and you got to get serious about protecting the players. I mean, I know she sounded off on a lot, and that was a part of it, right? So in theory, sure. And yes, every sport complains about the officials. It's true. That doesn't mean that it's not truthful. So I think it's going to be interesting. But yes, this is going to be a fun team to watch. And we see Tammy knows. Tammy knows what time it is. S3.E4 says, "Get ready to learn WNBA reffing or lack thereof." I mean, I think you'll be all right, Brian. You after all do watch hockey, so I'm still trying to figure out what a kicking motion is or what goalie interference really is. Like, what is it really? What is it really? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So exactly. So now you understand. This is like one of my favorite things because S3.E4 put in the comments, yes, I do love a strong crossover, but being able to use other sport language to explain a sport is my favorite thing. So when I started hearing more people in basketball use the term the hockey assist, I was like, no way. I think most people in basketball know now, but referencing the hockey assist in any sport that's not hockey, honestly, is because in hockey, you can get a primary assist and a secondary assist. Like secondary assists are actually a statistic. So it's the person who set up the shot. And I think some basketball players are like, yeah, I think we should do those stats because sometimes that's where the real work comes in, right? Is the hockey assist. So anyway, but I think I'm a PWHL fan specifically, so I get it. Listen, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. But listen, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Seattle Storm. We can't promise it's always going to be pretty, but it does seem like for the majority of the time it's going to be really exciting, and that's exciting too. You mentioned something earlier about the draft, and I know you have that image of Sue Bird behind you, but remember, Sue Bird almost didn't stay in Seattle. I love this story and hate it at the same time. If the Seattle Storm had not gotten the #1 overall pick, she was very dangerously close to coming back to her home state to play for the Liberty. This is where being a dual host of both Tempestade talk and Gotta Get Up gets a little bit complicated. But I've talked to Sue about this. Like I flat out asked her because I wanted her to tell me to my face why she didn't pick New York is really what it was. I was like, tell me to my face. No, but I think that also shows it's clearly shows the love that she has for Seattle. She'll be courtside to support Stewie because they're cool, but she reps Seattle so hard as a New Yorker. And that's loyalty because like New Yorkers are loyal to New York for sure. And if you get that loyalty and like you get a New Yorker to be disloyal to New York, like that's big time. So good on Seattle. And I think that's because, bringing in Stewie, I know it can be a little bit of a spot of contention, right? Or a sore spot, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But that was the culture, right? That you always reference. That was the culture. That's what got Seattle to be one of the very few franchises that has 4 championships and is looking to make more. That is what this team, again, has the potential to turn into because the first step is not championship or bust. The first step is let them cook. The first step is let's build trust. The first step is let's have fun and see what happens. We might actually mess around and win some games, but let's have fun. That's really the vibes that I'm getting for this season.
Yeah, just quickly getting back to what I said that Sue Bird stayed because the Storm had the #1 pick and they would choose Stewie. And then in 2022, Stewie was gonna go to New York, but Sue Bird decided not to retire, and Stewie said, "I am going to stay and Stewie was, "I'm going to stay in Seattle for Sue Bird." So that says a lot about the both of them. Anyway, so it is going to be a fun team. I am excited to watch them. I think that there was so much drama the past seasons. There was so much drama. It was, at some point covering the Seattle Storm was, when there's like someone mentioned something about aura, like it was sometimes it was heavy, and I was in the thick of it when it comes to coverage, and I I don't do journalism to make people happy. I do journalism for me, the truth. I think not only journalism, in life for me, the truth is the most important thing in the world. Like, and sometimes the truth is heavy. And that's what it was like with the Storm this past seasons. It was a team that had this heavy aura of, there was contention, there were always rumors, even if there was nothing going on, there were people trying to, it was trying to plant things that were going on. I feel that for the first time in years, it's going, covering the Seattle Storm is going to be light, not as in easy, not as in oh, there's not gonna have a, no, it is, it's gonna be fun for us media also to cover them, because it's completely new. And what have we been saying in this podcast? The Storm needs to renew. They need to build. Oh, I was gonna say they need to build back, but that reminds me of politics, and I don't like that. So they needed to rebuild. It's better than the other word I was saying. So, and that's what they're doing, and it's so early. It's so early in the game, but we already see the difference. So it's going to be a fun team. I think that fans need to temper their expectations and realize that this is a rebuild. They have to remember those years in between the 2010 and the 2018 championship. I think it's 2010 and 2018. They have to remember that those were rough years for the Seattle Storm. The Storm was just not winning. Subert almost left. I think that fans need uh, to prepare for that, to prepare to lose, but also be prepared to embrace an actual new Storm. So a lot of the story is gonna come from off the court. It's going to. I am very curious to see how they're going to develop on the court, because there are too many moving pieces. There are too many injured players. There is a key piece that is still overseas. So even though we have the vision, what it's going to look like effectively is still a question mark. And we're going to know when Ezzy is back. I think that's when we're going to know for sure, when Ezzy and Jordan are back. I still don't see Katie Lou Samuelson as being a key piece, even when she returns from injury. But I do see them placing Jordan as a starter soon. So I am very curious. It's a blank canvas. It's a blank canvas, and they're going to sketch a lot. There are going to be lots of sketches. One thing that I forgot to mention, there was a lineup that I actually did not like. There was Natisha Heidman and Jade Melvin. I did not like to see Jade Melvin playing off the ball. It didn't work well. Anyways, so that's what we're going to see. We're going to see different lineups. We're going to see uh, what Sonia Raman is going to do with this team. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. This is going to be a fun team, and there is My expectation is 44-0. Well, I recommend therapy. Uh, so- yeah.
That's cold.
It's
Probably
it's good.
accurate, but cold.
Yeah, so what Tammy said here is perfect. Blank slate without baggage. There was a lot of baggage. The way, like I said, you can't just evaluate one season. You have to even failure and success, neither are a result of denial only. And we have the aces as an example. Look at what Beer built with coming from those horrible San Antonio Silver Stars years, because I was a diehard Silver Stars fan. I would watch those games at midnight in Brazil, and I would not go to bed happy because they were awful. But look where the Aces are now, you know? So for the Storm to get to where they are today, to need this reset, there was a lot that happened. There was mismanagement, miscommunication. There were not, they didn't do a good job, and now they have a big opportunity that they need to embrace. And I'm happy because when you cover a team, you don't want them to lose. It's not that you're rooting for them, because we do have to keep like journalistic uh, integrity, but you don't want your team to be, you don't want to upset players in press conferences.
No, definitely not. And again, this is an exciting team, and we're going to be here for you to cover it. You can see we have a fun little graphic for you, an upcoming schedule. We also have this for Gotta Get Up, so you can take a look there at what's coming up. But we are running Mondays for Gotta Get Up for most weeks, I should say. And then Thursdays this season for Tempestade Talk. It's easy to remember. It's triple T. Tempestade on Thursday, or Thursdays is for Tempestade. Either way, it's 3 T's, whatever helps you remember. And make sure you go check out the women's basketball roundup. If you want to subscribe, it's free subscription, gives you access to our Slack channel. And if you make 3 referrals, we do still have our 2K26 shirts, and they are now quite the commodity since Angel Reese no longer plays for that team, but she still will be on the cover of 2K. So that's pretty awesome. Anyway, folks, we're going to start wrapping up today's show. Our next show, again, we'll have the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we got to see when it comes to opening tip-off. So May 8th, again, a very important day in these parts, but we have the Seattle Storm are going to be taking on the Valkyries. But we also know that they are taking on one of the expansion teams in Toronto coming up as well. So I think this is a really good opportunity. Oh, they also play Connecticut, I should say. And then I think it's Toronto is their next game. But I think this is a really good opportunity for the Seattle Storm to figure out how to make their mark, in this league, and to make their mark in resetting, or what's the term we are using? I want to make sure, I got to get with it. Yes, it is a reset. We are resetting. We are unplugging and plugging in again the Seattle Storm. And I think it's going to be exciting. Exactly. So we will see how it all pans out. I like how they protect the paint. They have a lot of length, so that should be something good. And I think that's also why we see both why we see the rebounding improving, and why it will continue to be a bright spot. But a bright spot is always us being able to chat with you. Again, thank you for your patience as we were dealing with some technical difficulties, but we have Roberta on the scene. We also, of course, have Brian on the scene in New York. I'm also here in New York, and we will be covering opening weekend. It's the 30th anniversary, the 30th season, I should say, of the WNBA, Roberta, and we are here to cover it all.
Yeah, we are going to be covering everything. With Tempestade Talk, you have us talking about the Storm with Gotta Get Up. You have the New York Liberty. I'm planning on being in the All-Star game. Let's see if it works out. You're going to see just we talk about everything that goes on in the league. We don't know what sort of nonsense is gonna come up this season. Some sort of nonsense always comes up, but we're going to talk about the things that make sense, the things that are constructive. We're gonna talk a lot of basketball, a lot of on the court game analysis. And also, we have been feeding Black Rose Media's social media quite often. I'm going to be at Storm practice this Saturday. I was going to be there tomorrow, but I have a crazy schedule at work. And we're going to be, but just keep an eye on Black Rose Media socials because we're doing a lot of work. Brian has been on the ground in Brooklyn almost for every practice. He does such an amazing job with the newsletter. Yeah, just got a lot it's going to be an amazing season.
We got to wrap up. The lights are literally going out on me,
Oh.
so we got to wrap. But yes, co-sign on everything that Roberta said. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, we have that schedule. If you didn't get a chance, now's your chance. Take a quick snapshot of both of our schedules. They're also going to be up on social media. And of course, if you're on our Slack channel, they'll be there as well. But for Roberta Rodriguez, Erica L. Ayala, and listen, thank you for once again joining us here at Tempestade Talk, where we are keeping a local eye on the Seattle Storm. We will catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody. Love and light. Bye.